What's up, my little blue horrors? It's time for the Scourge of Ghyran. Let's get into it.
Shurfrousky's Cult of Nine.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Shurfrousky's Cult of Nine, where we talk about everything Tzeentch, specifically usually in an AOS. Yeah, we got the Scourge of Ghyran event going on all month long, and now it's Tzeentch's turn to shine. So let's go check out what changes they got. And yeah, you can kind of see my glasses through my pit vipers. I ain't tricking nobody. I gotta see still while I'm wearing these things. Alright, so yeah, I think these are kind of interesting. If you guys already checked it out, you probably mostly know. This is honestly, videos probably be better for people who don't really want to read it themselves and just want to listen to someone. So, you know, welcome then if that's the case. Or if you just want to get my opinion from a Tzeentch aficionado, or whatever you want to call it, right? Someone who really loves Tzeentch stuff. But yeah, let's check out the Scourge of Ghyran, see what they got, and I'll give my opinions on them. So we got battle formations for this. Masters of Fate, a passive. The friendly Arcanite units' melee weapons have crit 2 hits while they are wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch demon unit. Actually, when I first read this, for some reason I assumed like demon heroes, but no, just any demon unit, because this is like your battle formation. Which kind of actually makes it kind of interesting and cool. It means you can really mix and match, right? Or I guess there's actually a reason to mix and match your Arcanites with your demons now, which is interesting. I mean, of course you can just probably have like a demon hero next to like your Arcanite like infantry or something like Tzaentch, if that's the way you want to do it to kind of use this rule. But it doesn't even have to be. You can be like, you know, Tzaentch next to blue horrors or something, which I think is really cool. Or even flamers, you know, you got like your flamers for like fire support, right? Have them stay behind like your Tzaentch or acolytes, and just keep them next to them like that, and then they're always gonna have crit 2 hits. So I think that's kind of good, especially for Tzaentch too, because Tzaentch's melee weapons, they have crit 2 hits on their weapons, but it's only not on the weapons for their ability, but it's only if they're in enemy territory. And like depending on the battle plan, that can be really hard to do. So this is actually really cool. I think this is really help Tzaentch get those crit 2 hits off. Yeah, it sounds kind of interesting. That sounds pretty fun to play around with, to like mix and match what demons would be good with like Tzaentch or any other Arcanite unit. Alright, let's go to the next one. We got Spellweaver Coven. It's a once per turn army ability in combat phase. You pick one of your wizards that's in combat. The target, it has to be the guy that he's in combat with. You can use a non-summon spell ability as if it was your hero phase. That's cool. But yeah, it only affects the caster or the guy you're in combat with. And then you just do the spell ability. So that's kind of cool. Actually, in the Path to Glory, there's kind of an ability like this, but it's actually at, it's like the Sorcerer path in Path to Glory. And like at the end of the turn, when it's your turn, you can cast a spell for free. Well, not like for free, like you still gotta make the rolls and stuff, but you know, you get to cast a spell at the end of the turn, which is pretty cool. So this is interesting. This is like really going off of that melee wizard kind of vibe going on, you know, where you're in combat while you're fighting, you're like casting off spells, like you buffing yourself or debuffing them, or just straight up blasting them with magic. So that's kind of cool. Is it better than this one? I don't know, because like your passive of having crit 2 hits on any Arcanite next to demons, like, you know, if you have multiple Arcanites and demon units, and yeah, multiple people are getting the buff, while this is just specifically the one wizard that's in combat, and usually you're not having your wizards in combat, so kind of iffy, depends, but it's a cool kind of thing though nonetheless, because this whole thing is all about basically throwing your wizards in combat. So it's interesting, it's cool. It's something I have to play around with. I feel like the Symbiotic Madness is kind of better overall. There's more value, bang for your buck, you know. But Spellweaver is still kind of cool. It'd be fun to try it out and see if it actually, you know, feels good to use. All right, next we'll go to Artifacts of Power. Yeah, we'll do the first one. I can't talk. Mutating Blade. This, I guess you like use it in deployment phase, right? Pick one of the melee weapons. So of course, if they got 2 weapons, you know, you gotta pick one of them. And then that attack characteristic for that is 2d6. That can be good, I guess. I think for a lot, we don't really have a lot of wizards that are like meant to be in combat. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head is, of course, Orgoroid, which they even have down here. You can kind of see it a little bit. So even looking at that, like one weapon, it looks like this thing's basically meant for the Orgoroid. But it could also be like for Curseling. He has 1 melee weapon. I guess you can do the Shaman too, because he only has a melee weapon, but he has a disc too, which wouldn't apply for this obviously. But his melee weapon isn't good. So like if you're gonna do a good melee weapon from a Tzeentch leader, actually Lord of Change could be it too if you give him the sword option. So it could be like Lord of Change with the sword, Orgoroid, or Curseling probably. It'd be like the best options to use this melee profile or to do this thing for. Yeah, but it's iffy though, you know, it's definitely a randomized, definitely like a Tzeentch thing, right? Because it's 2d6, so like, yeah, maybe your average is still gonna be like 6 attacks, but you know, you roll like shit, you get 2, you roll good, you get, you know, 12, like, really swingy, iffy. I know usually it's my experience when it comes to like d6 attacks, it really is pretty swingy like that. I feel like half the time I'm either getting 1 or 2 attacks or like 6 attacks. So, you know, if you like that kind of casino, slot machine, gambling style of play, then this definitely could be fun as an Artifact of Power. Especially if you're going to be taking this Orgoroid and just yeeting him into combat, then it could be good, because you definitely need those extra attacks if you're really going to make the most value out of like an Orgoroid. Alright, the next one. We got Arcane Siphon. It happens in your hero phase once per turn. This is kind of cool one. So you pick a manifestation. It could be friendly or enemy. It can't be set up this turn though, so you know it has to be one that's already been out for a turn. It has to be within 12 inches. And you roll dice on a 3-up. That thing is banished, and whatever you rolled also heals your wizard that banished it. So that's kind of cool. That actually kind of plays into like the melee wizard too, right? Kind of situational though, because you have to be fighting like either using it on your own spells to kind of like get a free heal is like one strategy, I guess you can use it, right? Like have a manifestation close to that wizard. It's your melee wizard, he's getting damage, you pop this ability, hopefully banish it and heal yourself. That's a way to do it. Preferably, hopefully you're banishing enemy manifestations, but depending who you're fighting against, that may not even happen, right? You might be fighting somebody who isn't really using magic. You know, like what, Fire Slayers, they don't use magic, right? Giants, you know, a couple factions that don't even use magic, so it may not really matter. Or they may not even have a manifestation out or near you to use, so I think you're really going to get the most value out of this. You have to be kind of probably intentionally banishing your own manifestation to probably just use it to heal yourself for your combat wizard. And honestly, probably the best bet for this would be probably the sigil, maybe, because the sigil's cool and it's great to have out. But if your fighting ends up moving away from that sigil's like, you know, circle of influence, which isn't very far, I think it's like 9 inches, then you're gonna have to banish it anyways, right? If you want to like move it. So this kind of goes hand in hand with maybe the sigil. You can have your sigil out, use it while it's there. If your fighting moves away from the sigil, you can use this to banish it, heal your guy, and then replace the sigil like next turn or something. Alright, the next artifact we got is a Spellcatcher Amulet. It's a once per turn army in your hero phase. This is pretty cool too. You can, I just read it, sorry. This unit can use the ability if any enemy manifestations were banished this phase. Okay, so you have to banish an enemy manifestation, you can't banish your own. And then this unit can summon, basically you get to use a summon for free, that's what it's saying. Which means, you know, summon a manifestation. And it doesn't count as like you using any of your spells or a banish. So basically like a free, you know, free spell, a free summon. on top of your current amount of spells and summons. That's just cool. It's just if you want a free summon, I guess, if you feel like you really need it. I feel like with like this edition though, there's not like too many spells you're casting anyways. Because there's only 3 from the lore, and you can only cast 1 per turn. So, I mean, maybe this is good if you're not bringing a bunch of casters, or if you're bringing just 1 cast wizards, I guess, right? Then this can be good. But if you're bringing any wizards that can cast 2 or more spells, then this ability is kind of pointless, I think, in my opinion. Because, you know, once you cast like 3 or 4 spells, you kind of casted most of everything you could cast. And even then it depends too, because like, yeah, you got damage spells, but like, is there enemy in range? If there isn't, then you can do a buff spell or a manifestation. There's like only 1 buff spell, so it's like, you're not, in general, you're just not really casting that much. So it's situational. I think, yeah, if you're bringing not a lot of, yeah, if you're bringing this like 1 or 2 1-cast wizards, then I can see this being helpful if you need that like extra cast to come off. But remember that the only caveat is you have to unbind a manifestation first or banish it. So there's that caveat. So I feel like out of these artifacts, probably these 2 are the best. Just depends on how you want to do it. You know, you want to be more damagey, you pick the mutating blade, put that on your combat wizard that you want to be combat. Or if you want to be a little more tanky, you can just banish your own manifestations and heal your dude. That seems like the strategies with those. Alright, now we can go into the Warscrolls. So I think it's cool that they buffed these 2 guys, especially the Acolytes. I think everybody who plays Tzeentch knows Acolytes definitely needed a buff. I'm not sure if this is a straight up 100% buff, but it's definitely a cool different way to play them, which I think is still in line with kind of how their old Warscroll is. So actually I'm gonna go check out their old Warscroll too, but first let's we'll check out the new ones and then we'll look at the old ones just to kind of compare them and see. So yeah, here's the Ogroid. I think his stats are all the same right here. The only difference is he doesn't have a ward of 6 like innately. It's now like an ability, like a passive ability. His weapons look like they're the same with all the stats. Same with his melee weapon. I think I know off the top of my head. On this Warscroll, his melee weapon, he's missing 1. On his other one, he has like a second melee weapon. So he kept like his good one, which is 6 attacks, 4 to hit, 2 to wound, 1 rend, 2 damage. But yeah, you know, the main thing is his abilities. So he, I guess, technically has a ward, but it is tied to this ability. So when he's in combat range of a friendly non-hero Arcanite unit, he gets a ward of 4, so that's really good. You know, not a lot of things have a ward of 4 in the game, so that's just like, yeah, a really good thing to have in general, especially on a guy who has a 5-up save. And then, but the caveat with this though is that it's not just like a free ward of 4. It's, you have that ward of 4, but when you're next to those non-hero Arcanite units, the damage that got ward saved has to be taken by your friendly unit. So you're just killing off your friendly dudes with these ward saves, basically. You know, you have your Ogroid, you have like 10 Acolytes next to him. Ogroid takes like 3 damage. Or say he wards off the 3 damage, right? Well, now that 3 damage is going to go to the Acolytes and just kill him. I mean, it's funny though, it's in line with Tzeentch stuff. And having a ward of 4 is great, but it's like at this cost of killing your own dude. So like, I don't know. Kind of good, kind of not. I mean, I guess if you are using this ability, the best thing to pair it with would be Acolytes, because they're like your cheapest dudes. And so it's like, who cares if they die? I know I wouldn't really want to do this with Zangors, but actually maybe with Zangors it could be better, because there's a lot of ways you can bring back Zangors. So actually it could be better to do it with Zangors, because your Zangors die, but then you just bring them back. So actually maybe the play is to do it with that, to have the Ogroid paired with the Zangors. And his other ability is Wrath of the Thaumaturge. This is critical. If it's not in combat, you can pick an Arcanite unit that is in combat to be the target, and you basically teleport him to the guy he's in combat with. So you just get like a teleport charge, and it's I'll just read the rest of it. It's remove the unit from the battlefield and set up again within an inch of the target and in combat. This unit has charged. So yeah, and there's no range of this either. The only caveat I could imagine is line of sight probably. So you can't be like doing it behind walls and shit. But yeah, like, you know, if you have like a unit halfway across the board that's in combat, that's an Arcanite unit, and your Orgroid's on the other side, but he's got like line of sight, you can just fucking teleport over there for free with this dude. And honestly, I mean, really, you don't even have to like probably stay in combat, to be honest, because like the next turn goes on, you can probably just like retreat him if you wanted to or some shit. Like, it all depends on what's happening, right? So it probably doesn't specifically just have to be like reinforcing your dude in combat to like help him fight and kill. It could just be like for some other kind of weird tactical reasoning, right? That's pretty cool. That sounds like really fun to do, and it's basically a free charge. So like, why even do a charge roll? Because this is once per turn, any charge phase, so there's no like limit to it really. It's just, oh, I'm not in combat, I got dudes in combat over there, teleport, pff, charge, yep, you're charged, and then you get your melee charge plus 1 damage too, which is cool. Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. Definitely a different way to play him. I can definitely see you having your Orgroid paired up with this mutating blade, and then making him a really strong combat guy on top of something Arcanite units. He's Arcanite, right? Yep. On top of maybe this Masters of Fate one. He's gonna have a lot of strong melee attacks for sure. He can really punch hard. That's interesting. Let's check out his original Warscroll real quick, just so we can compare. So yeah, the stats are just the same. 6-inch move, 8 health, 2 control, 5 save. Yep, exact same. Staff looks like it's the same. No changes there. Yep, like I was saying, his weapons are different. The difference is he doesn't have his staff weapon, which is okay. And the amount of attacks is different too. So he's got 3 for his horns and cloven hooves, and then 2 attacks for his staff on his original Warscroll. On the new one, it's just 6 attacks straight on his horns and cloven hooves, which is the better weapon anyway, so that's cool. And more attacks technically, because this is like 5 in total. On the original, the new one, it's 6. Still the same ability, charge plus 1 damage. I think probably the best benefit though with the original Warscroll is this burning effect he can do. So the once per turn, end of any turn, if he did damage to a unit with his melee weapon, they can get burning instantly. So you know, you can basically get 2 burnings off in 1 turn, which is cool. Now more burning the better, right? Stops people from healing or just the overall tick. And if you're running the faction with the -1 wound, then everybody's getting -1 wound. So there's definitely, you know, if you're going to go the burning route, I guess obviously this is the better one of the Orgroids. But if you don't care about the burning and you just want to go in there and smash shit, then I think that one is better. Yeah, I'm gonna look at his combat passive too, which is just if he's hurt, you get +1 to hit and wound, which is cool. But I mean, the +1 to wound ain't gonna matter on his wound because he's already at 2. And the hit is a 4, but like you can always do auto attack or something, or other ways to get buffs like your sigil too. If you're running the sigil, you have a chance of getting a +1 hit with that too. So this actually isn't too big of a deal to not really have. It's more about the burning effect if you're gonna pick this version of him. So it's cool. I really think I like the new version, especially like I think if you're gonna do the melee build, heavy melee, especially with like a bunch of Zangors, toss them in with the Zangors. I think that could be really fun. And then yeah, let's look at the Acolytes. I think they're mostly the same. The main difference with them is they kind of swapped out their shooting with being more melee oriented. So I think their stats are the same: 5-inch move, 1 health, 5 save, 1 control. Let's just double check. Yep, they only got 1 weapon, Curse Blade and Glaives. So usually they have 2 options, the Glaives and like their swords. But it looks like for this Warscroll, they just kind of combine it into 1. With 2 attacks, 4, 3, 1 damage is like the same as their other one, except their glaive has rend included on it. Actually, the wound is a little better. Look at that. So their blade is 2 attack, 4 hit, 4 wound, 0 rend, 1 damage. The new War Scroll has it as, you know, 4 to hit, 3 to wound. So that part's a little better. You're just not getting that option of the glaive, which is 1 rend and 2 damage. That's the kind of difference with that, as far as their melee weapons go. Now their abilities. A passive, add 1 to damage characteristic of this unit's melee weapons while the unit is wholly within 12 of manifestation. That's kind of cool. So that's definitely easy to do. Oh yeah, it says 12 inches of manifestation friendly or enemy. That's good to know. So anything, any of them. Yeah, you know, the Tzeentch, you can easily pop out manifestations, and so just intentionally make sure your acolytes are fighting near the manifestations, and you're going to get this buff always, which is cool. Your cheap chaff dudes getting 2 damage weapons, that's pretty cool. On 4s and 3s, which ain't too bad. Same thing, if you're always desperate, you can always spend a CP to do all attack. Even reinforce these guys, make 20 of them, so then you got like 40 attacks with 2 damage. That's kind of cool. And let's look at the next ability. You got the Volkark, the bird thing. This thing is pick an enemy unit within 12 of this guy, and you do this in shooting phase too. This is when you gotta declare it. And then for the rest of the turn, add 1 to the rend characteristic of melee weapons of the acolyte unit that attack that guy. This is cool. You don't roll for it, it's just guaranteed. So as long as you're within 12, it's like, hey, I'm gonna have +1 rend against you. That's pretty cool. So the way this looks is it's almost basically giving all of your guys just like that glaive weapon profile, if you think about it, because this is that glaive weapon profile. The only difference is to make it actually be the same as the original, you just gotta pop these buffs off with these abilities, and now it's like everybody is swinging with that glaive weapon basically, which is kind of cool. This actually makes like these chaff units have a bit of a punch, and I feel like if you reinforce them, then they're definitely gonna have a punch. That's like 20 dudes hitting you on 4s, 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage. And then again, sigil could buff your hit, or you can use all out attack, or the sigil could buff your wound if you're running that. Yeah, this could be powerful. This could. Obviously, I'm thinking like maybe a cheap, easy way of doing it is spamming these dudes. I mean, they are weak. You know, when they get punched back, they're gonna fucking die so easy. But it definitely is kind of like almost like a fun meme type of thing. Not too bad. I think I might prefer this better. And again, I guess the main trade-off would be the weird flame stuff. So let's actually look at the original War Scroll just for a little bit to compare more. So like their difference was, yes. So the new one doesn't have shooting weapon. This one does. It's their sorcerer bolts. With 18-inch range, which is like the max for most guys. 4s and 3s to hit and wound and 1 damage, but they got weird flames, so if you want to pop off those burning effects, this is an option you can do it with if you're caring more about trying to burn guys. But I mean, there's so many other guys you can shoot and do weird flame in your spells too, so it's not like you don't need to bring acolytes just for that. So the melee option is probably better, just because like why care about the weird flame when so many other guys can do it. Yeah, and then the only other difference is the bird, the Volkark. It is all it does is subtract 1 from casting rules if you're next to within 12 inches of an enemy wizard, which half the time that kind of really isn't happening, or most of the time that isn't really happening. You're not really in that situation when these guys are even close to the enemy wizard, but it depends. I mean, no one's even really bringing these dudes anyway, so who knows. And then in shooting phase, you can basically get a rend on your guy, and that's it. And I think like the weird little caveat is like, what if there's more acolytes within this guy's combat range, then it makes your roll to get the rend easier. But that's and it's just for your shooting though, so like that actually isn't that good compared to the other one, because the other one is it's like guaranteed damage for the buff. You get guaranteed rend. You have 2 attacks each per guy. So it's like guaranteed buffs on the new War Scroll, while this one is like you gotta like roll for it, and it's just 1 rend on your shooting weapon that has 1 attack. I as worth it, I think. I think the new one is actually better. I'd rather just make him melee than shooting, because you can get weird flame from so many other sources. Yep. So that's it. This was Tzeentch's Scourge of Ghyran. Pretty interesting. I think it could be fun. You know, not really gonna know how these guys feel in it until you put them on the field. I think honestly though, if you're really gonna make use of this Ogre Thaumaturge and make him be a combat wizard, you really have to apply one of these two artifacts on him, because the problem is with, like, you know, foot heroes, they just don't have enough attacks, and especially with like Tzeentch, you're gonna make your wizard who's a 5-up save be like in combat. It's just not really gonna end that well. I mean, you guys probably know it for any faction really. If you got your foot hero in combat, you're not really pumping out a bunch of damage unless they have a bunch of attacks or like good hit and wound rolls. Because yeah, usually it's the attack part. It's just not enough to make it worth it. You know, like, why put in your one hero to fight when like 20 Zangar can go in there and put out 40 attacks or more with the crit 2 hits and all that kind of shit. You know, because let's walk through it. Like you have your Ghryan in combat with just this going off of your base Warscroll, right? You're in combat. You're forced to hit. You probably fucking make 2 or 3 of them. Like, your average is probably 3, right? With the 4 to hit. You do 2 to ruin. You're probably still only getting like 2 of them going through, and then it's just 1 rend 2 damage, and then the enemy still has to save. And depending who you're fighting against, now if it's anybody with a 3-up save, they're probably going to save one of them or both of them. More than likely not. And again, like, if you've been playing these guys and playing, you know this is kind of how it works out. Like yeah, oh, 6 attacks with this profile, like, yeah, but like 1 attack is gonna go through, and then you're just gonna do 2 damage, and that's all he does. And then now compare that to like anything else. Like, these guys, the acolytes, would probably do more damage than fucking him based off of this stuff. You know, and the Zangors and anybody else, fucking 40 blue horrors would probably do better than that. You know, obviously there's a bunch of them. Yeah. So I feel like to make use of him, you really have to apply the buffs. And even then, it's still wish-washy, because it's 2d6 attacks. You can, you know, get unlucky and roll, you know, 2 1s, and then you got 2 attacks, and it's fucking nothing. But, you know, the good side of it is, hey, you roll 2 6s, and now you got 12 attacks. Now, and that definitely makes it a lot better. And then, like I was saying, to compare it with the battle formation of crit 2 hits. And now your 6s of crit 2 hits can give you more attacks, so that definitely bumps it up. And then if you get lucky, you can get your charges off, you can get the +1 damage. So then whatever goes through is 3 damage now. So yeah, I feel like you got to play off of all of those buffs. You definitely got to get your charge off, play with this mutating blade, and then have the symbiotic madness if you're really trying to buff the shit out of that guy. It's the only way to kind of make it, or to get your most bang for your buck with that. Overall, it's interesting. It's cool. I like them more melee focused. I feel like Tzeentch is always, they always design them to be more like tricksy and a little shooty. Even their magic usually isn't the best thing. I think Seraphon have like the best magic in the game, basically. So yeah, just having a second option of like letting them Tzeentch be melee, I think is cool and fun, because it's kind of like the opposite of what you think, right? Usually you're thinking Tzeentch is gonna be like sitting in the back with their horrors, you know, castling it up and just casting some magic and doing tricks, but focusing on like the melee version of Tzeentch, where it's like running forward. Yeah, you're still a glass cannon, but you got your tricks up your sleeves to make yourself strong and survive. I think that's cool and fun. I like that play style better as Tzeentch, to be honest, for me. But yeah, these are just my thoughts, my opinions on it. This is fun and interesting. Hope you guys enjoyed my spiel. And I'll get out of here. Thanks for watching, guys. If you stayed this long at the very end, you know, thank you. Please consider like, subscribe, all that shit. And I will see you guys later. Adios.
Give me the meat and give it to me raw.